I had my own company for 25 years. I ran of my life, health, wealth, and happiness. Number one, because of our age difference, I don't say I told you so. You smile because she finally got it. You can't take that away from somebody once they learn interest.
Yeah.
They don't understand the rule of 72, right? I'm not going to embarrass you, but I will tell you the rule of 72.
People saving, but they don't want to invest. They're afraid.
Yeah, it's related to savings. Sure. That's an excellent question. Number one, in a very loving way, he said, Matthew, in corporate America, we don't dress this way. And I can't tell you how many times the restaurateurs come over and said to me, Matthew, thank you so nice for dressing me. And most people, oh, I don't want to change.
Hello, everybody. I'm Elena with Let's Talk, and we have our next guest, unbelievable guest, because we know each other for a long time, and I trust this person with his opinion and with his knowledges, and we're gonna have conversation like friends between each other who trust of opinions or recommendation of something. So we decided to discuss very important topic. It would be, of course, finances, which is everybody's worry about right now, and well-being, mostly and particularly on health, because our guest will astonish you with his way of living. So let me introduce you, Matthew
LoCicero.
I'm gonna take a chance. Okay.
My last name is a tongue twister. I understand. Thank you for that gracious introduction. I appreciate it. Yes, we do know each other for a long time, and I'm happy to sit here and talk about health, wealth, and happiness, which are the three themes of my life: health, wealth, and happiness. Number one is health, because without health, it's really hard to have happiness. And health is true wealth. So they're really all integrated, and that's how I live my life.
Yeah, I like your background. Could you tell us about yourself? Where are you right now? And I love that shelves that is very rare in the house to have a.
Oh, this is yeah, I probably have 800 books in my library. I'm in my home, my beach house in Thailand. I love to read. I read probably 2 books a month. Reading is really important. Leaders are readers.
That's right. What is your favorite topic to read?
Well, I have multiple subjects. So on my desk outside of the screen here are a dozen books that I'll pick up, and sometimes I'll only read a paragraph a day. My oldest book that's sitting on my desk is The Magic of Thinking Big. And you can see how discolored this is, and taped up. And this book I bought probably 40 years ago. And sometimes I'll read just a paragraph a day. The Power of Habit is another book. The Magic of Believing, The Law of Success. So Maxwell Maltz, Psycho-Cybernetics. Those are books that, again, you can read a paragraph or a sentence, but every day I try to read something from them. Of course, I've read them from head to toe to begin with, and I've taken copious notes. For relaxation, fun books that I like to read are all about international espionage, geopolitical stuff. You know, I'm currently reading the 5th novel of the Gray Man series. So those are kind of fun, relaxing. And then the third category of books that I read are on health and wellness. Now, on that subject, I dive into the weeds in those books, and I take copious notes for my own personal edification, but really on wellness, when talking about it and talking with others and living it, I try to follow the keep it simple principle, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And that's my philosophy towards health and well-being.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I love reading as well. So we spoke, and that's why I called you. I wanted to find out more about what you're doing, making money on stock market, right?
Yeah.
Could you tell a little bit more about that, if you may?
Sure. Yeah, of course. I have a philosophy that I've always lived by, or that I learned in my uh, early business years. When you're young, you work for money. When you are older, if you've done things right, money works for you. People don't understand that. And a lot of people really complicate money, right? But when you're young, in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, maybe even your 50s, most people have jobs, or they have careers, or they have businesses, and they're basically trading their time for a paycheck or a commission or what have you. How you manage that money is really, really important. And you don't have to do everything right, but you just need to do a couple of things right. And that is spend less than you make. Albert Einstein once said that compound interest is the seventh wonder of the world. And this is the foundation of the concept that money works for you over time.
Is it related to savings? Because sometimes people saving, but they don't want to invest. They're afraid.
Yeah, it's related to savings. Sure. That's an excellent question. Number one, if you don't have savings, you can't invest. It's really that simple. I have people that come to me, they're at my age. By the way, I'm 67 years old, right? And I've been retired for a long, long time. I'm embarrassed to say how long I've been retired. Okay. I have people that come to me, they're my age, and they say, Matthew, I have no money to invest. I'd like to, I can't help you. My answer is, what have you been doing for the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years? Right? So at that point, it's too late.
What do they do, by the way? What did they do?
I know people that are teachers, that have had jobs, have made a lot of money, but they spent it all. Right? And so, because they didn't get their thinking straight, they didn't understand, they didn't learn that money is a tool, that it needs to work for you. I look at my portfolio today as a baseball. I love baseball, right? So I look at my portfolio as a baseball team. I've got 30 players on the team, right? And I've got star hitters, I've got my home run hitters, I've got my dependable guys. This is a metaphor for all the individual stocks, right? And then I have some with a lot of promise but haven't delivered, right? So you got to be patient. And I have some that have had problems, right? And some that I've had to fire, delete from the team. So that's how I look at my portfolio of stocks. But getting back to the bigger question, you need to have savings to begin with, and then you need to educate yourself. People that say they're afraid to invest, they have not taken the time to learn basic mathematics, in my opinion. They don't understand compounding of interest. They don't understand the rule of 72, right? I'm not going to embarrass you, but I will tell you the rule of 72 is take your interest rate, divide it by 72, and that's how long it takes for your money to double. It's a little mathematical
Down formula.
Yeah, that's a formula. It's a rule of 72, right? So if to keep things simple, if you're getting 10% interest on your money, which nobody is, but if you're getting 10% interest on your money, it will double in 7.2 years. So take whatever percent you're getting, divide by 72, and that's how long it takes to double your money. That's growing wealth. Okay. But to go back to the premise of your question, that savings is important. You need to spend less than you take home each month.
Mhm.
And that's discipline. That's a habit. And people say they can't do it. And I say nonsense. Everybody can do it. If you're making
Approximately you're spending every day.
how much money I spend every day?
Yeah. For example, what for you need money every day?
Well, I can't speak in terms of dollar amounts because that's really not fair. I'm living in Thailand.
Just lifestyle.
I live a great lifestyle. First of all, I have no mortgages on my homes. They're paid off. I bought them with cash. I have multiple homes. I have no car payments. Okay. So, and I'm not saying that having a mortgage is bad. Actually, having a mortgage is very good because you're leveraging money. But when you expatriate, right? So I'm living as an expat, meaning an American, but I'm living in Thailand. I could not get a mortgage. So I had to have money when it came to buying a house. So, but lifestyle wise, I'm at a stage in my life, money's working for me, and I love dining out. I hang out at the really nice hotels. I live 5 minutes from the beach. So I'm either at the Hyatt Regency or the JW Marriott or the Standard Hotel. Everybody knows me there. I've got my little doggy. I take him, I go. That's my Hawaiian beach lifestyle. When I'm in Bangkok, then it's a different lifestyle. It's a more night-oriented lifestyle where we're going out to fine dining restaurants. Or, if I'm cooking at home. But in Bangkok, I prefer to go out to the fine dining restaurants. When I'm at my beach house, I prefer cooking at home. I love to cook. I also love to bake. I make great biscotti cookies and New York style cheesecake.
Wow. Surprise.
I'm a Renaissance man. I have a lot of interests.
Oh, I love it. Your best is the best. By the way, Best, this is the name of his beautiful wife.
She's fabulous. Her name is Best, B-E-S-T, for those that are listening. It's a very strange name for most Americans, or they want to call her Bess or, whatever. But yeah, she's fantastic. And, she's much younger than me, so she's at a different stage in her life. She's building her career. She's an entrepreneur. She has her own company. It's focused in Bangkok. And we spend a lot of time apart. Secret to a happy marriage, I always joke. And it works for us.
No word to laugh.
Now, I joke, secret to a happy marriage is 2 houses,
I agree with you. The less you see each other, the happier you are, honestly.
You know what, Elena, we've been together 18 years. We don't argue.
Exactly. To see each other like first time.
Yeah, but being an expat, and I'm going to weave that into the conversation just a little bit, because it requires a real paradigm shift in your thinking. To leave America, or to leave your home country, wherever it is, Ukraine or Europe, France. We have a lot of French people in Thailand, a lot of Brits, a lot of Australians. When you move to a foreign country, you really have to shift your thinking. And a mentor once said to me, it's better to have preferences than needs.
Exactly.
It's better to have preferences than needs. When you fully understand that, life gets a lot easier. Life gets a lot easier. So the fact that English is a second language for my wife, Best, it's great. The fact that Thai is a second language for me, it's great. Because whenever things get terse or tense, I just say, "My coach, I cop." And I say, "I don't understand." There's no problem. And we don't argue. Fantastic. It works for us. But I think we got off track a little bit. Going back,
it's very, very on track, because you cannot do a successful life without your personal life. By the way, let me ask you one question since we're on this topic. Do you help your wife with build up her businesses and to be independent, or what for she's working?
Oh, absolutely. Because of our age difference and her maturity, I get to play the role of not just husband and lover, but mentor and confidant. So I am not actively working in the business, but behind the scenes, I do coaching and mentoring, and she benefits from the experiences that I have. When I was involved in the club where you and I met, as you know, she traveled all over with me, so she was exposed to a lot of great personal development courses. She has seen me speak on stage. She was with me in Las Vegas when I introduced our main speaker and spoke for 10 minutes in front of an audience of 3,000. So all of this has given her confidence, which she is now using to build her business. For me, the challenge is to allow her to make her own mistakes without getting too far off track, right? So I can't tell her to do everything just because I've done it and I've experienced it. And by the way, for your audience, I had my own company for 25 years. I ran a insurance financial consulting firm in downtown San Francisco for 25 years, a firm that I started and ultimately sold, right? So I understand business. I understand the importance of all the things, with not just selling a product, but managing the office and doing marketing, and the importance of accounting and understanding rules and regulations, and the importance of being neat, and the importance of being on time and looking your best and doing all those things that somebody must do when they own their own company. So, but having done that for 25 years, I learned a lot of things. But the challenge today, to answer your question, in coaching Best, is to allow her to have her own aha moments. So when she says to me, "Honey, oh my God, now I know what you've been talking about for all these years. wow. I just smile, right? I don't say, I told you so. Just smile because she finally got it, right? And I had been telling her, I've been telling her for a long time, but she got it. And now you can't take that away from somebody once they learn it.
Yeah, she discovered. So she's the most appreciative and most valuable apprentice for you.
I think so. I'd like to think so. Time will tell.
Yeah, she's lucky that she has a mentor like you. This is one of the huge benefits in the marriage when it is a big difference in age.
Yeah.
This is rare, by the way. So I'm glad that is your case.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It works for us, so we're happy.
Yeah. And when I met you first time, and every time when I see you, you always look stylish. I adore that. All groomed and smell and everything. So you are kind of role model for everybody. And every woman would love to have a man next to her like you.
Oh my
So
God.
could you tell me, how did you develop your style? Did somebody taught you, or it is in your nature? Because some people are born with that sense, you know?
Excellent question. Thank you for asking. There's really two parts to that. I grew up in New York City in the Bronx, a very rough and tumble neighborhood in the 1970s. My parents were Italian immigrants. Wealth did not come to us, so they were hardworking merchants. Style, high society living, that was not at all part of my growing up as a young child. But I had always been neat and fastidious. So part of that, yes. And the other part came, and this is really important. When I took my first and only corporate job, I worked for Kellogg's, the cereal company, right after graduating university. And I was brought into the corporate headquarters, Middle America, Battle Creek, Michigan, very white, very buttoned up. And my boss took me aside one day in a very loving way. He said, Matthew, in corporate America, we don't dress this way. And I was kind of dressing like, a Guido from the Bronx. I had suits and stuff. He said the uniform is blue suit, white shirt, red tie, blue pinstripe shoe, gray suit with pinstripes, navy blue blazer, white shirt, gray slacks. He gave me the uniform. He says, you can pick and choose. He says, but that's the basic uniform of the dress code. He said, I'm telling you this as a friend. You can dress any way you want, do what you want. I'm just telling you as a friend. And because I was teachable, right? So what is teachable? On the teachability index, it's 1 to 10, a willingness to learn. Most people say, oh, I want to learn, I want to learn, I want to learn. There are 10. The second part of that is, what is your willingness to accept change? And most people, oh, I don't want to change. No, I like the way I am, right? So 10 times 0 is 0. But anyway, so that was part of it. And then as I went on in my professional life, I dress for me. I feel better. To this day, I'm living in the tropics. When I'm in Bangkok and I go to restaurants, I'm generally in a suit and tie, or certainly a suit, but maybe a nice open collar shirt. And I can't tell you how many times the restaurateur has come over and said to me, Matthew, thank you so nice for dressing at our restaurant. And I said, thank you so much for your white linen tablecloth and exquisite food and nice ambiance. Why wouldn't I dress? So I do it for me. I feel better. And that's really always been with everything I do. My house, my home, my car. I like beautiful things. I love beautiful women. I love beautiful architecture. I like nice clothing. I'm not trendy, but I like nice stuff. And I think that's important. And as I get older, one of the things I've observed, a lot of people start in their late 60s or even younger, they let go of that stuff. They stop shaving. They stop dressing nice. They don't look good. And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't know, maybe that's part of me being a Renaissance man, but I don't get it, Elena.
Don't you think it's something in the head is going on? Maybe some mind changes or too much medication they take, and this is affect their thinking. we're coming closer to
Yeah,
health.
we're coming closer to health and wellness. Yes. Listen, I'm going to jump right to that point. There's no doubt that being overly medicated affects one's thinking. And let me just say from the outside, nearly 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which is an autoimmune disease. It's a disease that my brother died from. It was a disease that had me debilitated. I was using a cane on many days. I was very, very ill. Fast forward 20 years later, and some in your listening audience might take exception with this. I've cured myself. I take no medication, none, zero, nada. I weigh today what I weighed in university. I'm 60 kilos, right? Or an American, weight 130 pounds. That's what I weighed in university almost 50 years ago, right? Take no medication whatsoever. I fired all my doctors, right? And I've moved to a different type of doctor. I've moved to a functional medicine, right? And this came about, again, through a paradigm shift because a willingness to learn, a willingness to ask questions, be open, take in new information. When I was in the Dominican Republic, I met someone who said to me, Matthew, what were you thinking about at the time you were diagnosed with multiple sclerosis? And I said, what do my thoughts have to do with it? And he said, young man, I was older than him. He said, but he looked a lot older than me. He said, young man, your thoughts have everything to do with it. And so that started me on a journey of understanding the connection that the mind controls the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so the habits you develop are really, really important. And maintaining those habits, if they're good habits. If they're bad habits become, I'm searching for a word here. Bad habits become illnesses, right, over time, right? But good habits keep you healthy. But it all begins with a habit. And what's a habit? A habit is, I'm going to do something every day. I shave every single day. Every single day. There's a great movie. You might have seen it with Robert De Niro. Your audience might have seen it, called The Apprentice or something. Are you familiar with that? Robert De Niro, he's a senior guy like me, and he goes into a young high-tech company and to help this fledgling entrepreneur, and she's surrounded by all these millennials that are dressed like absolute slobs, and he's in a suit and tie, and they're asking him, do you dress like this every day? And his answer is every day. Do you shave every day? Is every day. What about weekends? Every day. What about holidays? Every day. What about vacation? I shave every day. So,
it's very good point.
Yeah.
So could you tell, because I know it is a very serious illness for many people, and some they never recover. And I heard that it is at different stages, and it depends on your stage of your body. If you've been healthy, you'll have more chances to recover completely, almost completely.
Yeah. It is a very serious illness. As I mentioned, my brother died from it. I mean, it's very personal. I miss him dearly. We were 7 years apart. We were both diagnosed at the same time, meaning he was 40 when he was diagnosed, and I was 40 when I was diagnosed, right? And his course of action, following doctor's orders, lots of medication, et cetera, doing what he thought was in his best interest for him and his family, led, ultimately he died from it. And everyone's case is different. And I'm not a medical doctor, and I'm not telling people what to do. But what I discovered was there are a lot of things you can do to maintain health and vitality. Ask, what is multiple sclerosis? Well, the word multiple means many things, right? And sclerosis means things are hard. So there's multiple things wrong with you. In traditional medicine, what the doctors do is they treat all the symptoms. So you have fatigue, let me give you this drug. You have something else wrong with you, let me give you that drug. And before you know it, you're taking a concoction of 6 or 7 medications. And they're interacting with one another. You have brain fog, just da 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 da, And I don't want to be overly harsh on traditional doctors, but they weren't trained. The fact of the matter is, doctors were not trained. Maybe the youngest generation coming out of school now is different. But any doctors that are in their late 40s, 50s, and 60s, they have no nutritional training. It's not part of the medical requirement, right? So this is horrible. They're treating symptoms, they're not treating the whole body. And what I have done is I understand our body was loaded with toxins. So one of the very first thing I did was get all the mercury removed from my mouth, right? Because growing up, you get cavities, you get fillings, it's all with mercury, right? So again, reading books and studying and learning what is best for your body, right? And when I say keep it simple, stupid, that's the KISS method. So I made a post on Facebook just recently, and I said, in my health and wellness protocol, what are the top 5 things that I avoid putting into my body, right? Nothing with MSG. Monosodium glutamate is an excitotoxin. It just makes your body go crazy. It doesn't just make you thirsty. It makes your body go crazy, right? And you got to get that out. So I try to avoid. Can't always do it. Sometimes the restaurant's going to put it in. You don't know about it. And I know instantly, right? Okay, I had some MSG. I try to avoid anything that comes in a package or a box. Anything that has ingredients that I cannot pronounce or don't understand. If you look at the ingredient listing, and when I go shopping, I keep a magnifying glass with me. I actually really do, right? If I don't understand it, can't read it, it's not going into my body. Okay?
I do the same.
Perfect. Perfect. And maybe one day with the technology, because I'm a huge technology proponent, I think we're going to have magnifying glasses that have built-in dictionaries. So we can zero in on a word and say, what the hell is that thing? Now there's an invention, right?
Yeah.
I avoid vegetable oils.
All?
And all vegetable oils.
You mean flaxseed oil, olive oil?
Oh, olive oil is great. Olive oil is great. I shouldn't say oil. Oil. I'm sorry. Canola.
Oh, canola, obviously, yeah.
Corn oil, right?
Corn oil, yes.
So, but most vegetable oils that are commercially produced are so Frankensteined. They're really dreadful, you know. It's not going to go into my body, right? So, and keeping it even further simple. If my grandfather wouldn't recognize something as food, I try not to eat it. Right?
Yeah.
I ask myself when I go shopping, would he know what this is? My grandfather knew what walnuts were and cashews and right and nuts and fresh fruit and real meats and stuff. But you know, that's when most people go shopping, their grocery cart is filled with all packages and dehydrated this and dehydrated that. I'm like, oh God, I don't touch it. You know, and then fasting, right? I fast every day, minimum 12 hours, most days 15, some days 18.
So what time you stop eating?
7 p.m.
And you start eating around 12?
12, 1, yeah.
Good regime.
And it's not hard. You know, I'll have coffee in between, I'll drink water. But it's not hard, right? And I do that every day, but you don't have to, but you can keep it simple. Do it once for people that are just starting out, right? They do it once a week. But most people, when I've talked to that have weight issues, right, which is related to all of other illnesses, say they wake up hungry. They can't fast. And I understand that because I used to wake up hungry as well, right? And so how do you break that? Why are you waking up hungry? Well, you probably have a candida overgrowth, right? And your body is looking for more carbohydrates. What are the worst carbohydrates? Pizza, pasta, bread, cake, cereal, and rice. So what I did 10 years ago, and listen, I'm Italian. I love my Italian bread and my wine and my pasta, okay? And I still eat those things. But 10 years ago, I read a Candida book. I do have it on my shelf somewhere called The Life Force. And he said, in order to break the addiction, you've got to go 30 days with no pizza, pasta, bread, cake, cereal, and rice. And I said to myself, I'm never going to be able to do this. No pizza, no pasta, no bread for 30 days, right?
I will go crazy.
Elena, I went 82 days.
Oh, wow. Bravo.
82 days. I remember I was in Scottsdale, I was in Arizona, I was at a resort, and it was nothing magic about the 82nd day, but on the 82nd day, I said, you know what? I'm having pasta. And today, now I can have those things whenever I want, but I no longer have cravings.
Good.
Right? I don't have a bloated stomach. I don't have what we call in America, the beer belly. It's not a beer belly, it's candida. It's an and those are the things that cause you to wake up hungry. So you end up overeating and then blah, 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 blah. So.
And we will continue